Hi guys, it's Jay here in Fredericton. This video is a little different from all the other ones I've done because I'm not really doing this one for everybody, even though I'm going to share it online. I want to say a special hello to Tammy and the gang down on the mainland in Nova Scotia who have a weight loss support group who get together every Thursday night, and this Thursday coming, they've asked me to speak, but obviously I can't get there. I've got a day job here in Fredericton, and this video is going to be what gets played at their meeting. And the topic that they've asked me to talk about is just this idea of accepting change and giving yourself permission to change. Because if there's one thing that I've really struggled with through this entire thing, it is that idea that it's okay to change. You know, you spend 30 years getting to know yourself as one particular thing. Everything around you feels like Bambi on ice when all of that change starts to set in. It's been my experience that people who set out trying to get into a particular dress by a particular time, who want to lose 50 pounds by next summer before their daughter's wedding, whatever, they create this structure that defines a particular success, and then when they find themselves not being able to reach that particular success, they lose all motivation and all momentum toward just a general success. So, you know, when we talk about change and how to accept change, you know, it's not any change. It's not like any change will do. We are all striving for very particular things. We are looking to better our health. We're looking to ensure our life isn't cut short by immature decisions, you know, by the need to feed, you know, this greed and this gluttony now that comes with overeating and that comes with obesity. You know, we have within us this drive now to spend as much time as we can with those people in our lives. It's not any change. It's change that moves us towards those goals. And if that is what you're focused on, every time you see, you know, a cookie, every time you look at a restaurant menu, you know, the idea of treating yourself goes away when it's not a pair of pants or a number on a scale that you're striving toward, but when it's actually a commitment to yourself to live healthy, to live and to be with the people that you love as long as you possibly can. You know, when those are the stakes, you have a very precise definition of change, and you have a very solid understanding of why it is you're doing what it is you're trying to do. The idea of 2 steps forward, 1 step back isn't even an option for me. There is no such thing as falling off the wagon. There is no such thing as an off day. There is no such thing as, you know, a treat. These are words that set me up for failure in every other attempt I've made to have change. And the minute that I wrote those off and took those out of the vocabulary for this new lifestyle I have, then I was able to find success. Because the momentum of putting one good decision ahead of another and following those over time, literally week after week, month after month, and now for me more than a year, you know, you do see progress. The speed at which it comes changes, but if what's defining my success and what's keeping me motivated every day is this idea that every day I can feel that change, every day I know I am closer to where it is I'm going, that every day I am healthier than I was the day before, that I am making commitments to myself to live healthier, to be here longer, and to spend more time invested in the parts of my life that I find joy in, and be with the people that I love. Those are 2 very different worlds to get motivation from. Scales and pant sizes and cosmetic changes and bikinis and all of that stuff that you're using to motivate yourself through the Atkins diet and through every 30-day program and every cabbage soup diet and everything else you've ever tried. That's so different from I want to be there for my kids to graduate. I want to see my grandkids. I want the chance to, you know, retire with my husband and have a life after that. Those are very different motivating factors for you. So, you know, when you guys sit around every week and you tell each other your stories about, you know, how you've always been an overweight woman and your husband doesn't understand and your family doesn't support you and they want chips and cookies in the house anyway. I don't pretend to know that life. You know, I don't. But what I can tell you is that you will start to view all of those things differently when you realize that those are just tests of your own commitment between where you are now and that change that you seek. Your goal is just to follow up one good decision with another one, with another one, with another one. And for you guys, every Thursday you're making a good decision. You're showing up at this meeting. You're being accountable and honest with yourself about the choices you're making. And you're holding each other to account by sharing them. And I think that's a huge part of success with any weight loss program, is just the ability to be honest about what you want, the struggles that you're having trying to get there, and just that kind of motivation that comes from knowing other people have those same struggles too. I mean, that's the feedback that I've certainly got the most over the last 14 months or so. But then that raises the question, is just because you're putting one good decision in front of another, and that, you know, is giving you a momentum to get through this entire thing, there will be days when it is incredibly hard to put a good decision in front of another one. There will be days when you feel more connected to the person you were before you lost an ounce, before you decided to change, than you actually feel like the person you're changing into. I have those days. You know, those days absolutely exist. There are days I find that the number of days that I wake up and actually feel like 100% connected between the body that I have now, like kind of, you know, the body that's still in the process of this change, that is certainly not 460 pounds, but is still not anywhere close to my goal. There are days I wake up and I feel like an Olympic athlete. I feel like I can take on the world. But then there are days I wake up and I feel like I'm 500 pounds. And for me, something that my first conversations with the guys at the Surgical Weight Loss Center in Mississauga, one of the first things that they drilled into my head was accepting that my ultimate failure in life, the thing that led me to obesity in the first place, was that I just do not have a fair understanding, a fair connection between my physical body and how my head understands my body. If my mind could honestly was wrapping its head around the size that I was, I'm a smart guy. I would have stepped in and stopped myself. But there's a disconnect there. That disconnect doesn't go away with the changes. That disconnect doesn't go away immediately just because you're making good decision after good decision after good decision. So for me now, what I have to do is not rely on my motivation, not rely on my body and the progress that I see to be my motivation to get up every day and keep making the right decisions. Because half the time I wake up, I hate this body. I hate this body on some days more than I hated the body that I had at 460 pounds when I started this entire thing. Because it has nothing to do with reality, and it has everything to do with what's going on up here. And just because logically right now I can explain to you the things that I do to try to put one decision in front of another, to give myself that momentum to look inward, to not focus on numbers and scales and all of that stuff, just because I can wrap my head around that doesn't mean that the journey is any easier for me. Because there are days I wake up and, you know, I look at every hanging piece of flab and man boob and chin and all of this, and I feel just as bad about myself as I did when I weighed 460 pounds. There are times I look in the mirror and I see all of this that's here now, all of this extra skin, and I've honestly said out loud, I'm like, I think I look better when I was a fully inflated balloon. Now that I've got like half the air let out of me, I look like a saggy mess. On those days, if I'm relying on the connection between my mind and my body only, if I'm just relying on my own understanding of who I am and where I am in this journey, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to make shitty decisions. I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to get out there. I'm not going to make the right food choices. I'm going to fall off my menu plan. I'm not going to be honest with myself about where I am. But if I wake up every day and just acknowledge that, okay, this is one of those days where I'm going to, you know, be a negative guy, where I'm going to beat up on myself all day, if I can accept that, but not let that influence the decisions I'm making that day, then who gives a damn? I mean, that's just part of the process of changing. That's my mind trying to come to grips with this massive change that I have brought about. It's going to be the same thing for you. So when you get these thoughts in your head, you need to separate how you're seeing yourself today from how you see yourself at the end of this entire thing. Make decisions that are going to move you toward your goal. And don't make decisions based on how you're seeing yourself. You have to not trust your ability to see yourself. If that was a trusting, if that was a reliable source, if you yourself were a reliable source for judging how your body looked and how you were managing your own health, if you really were a reliable source, you wouldn't have become overweight in the first place. You wouldn't have become obese. And if you're me, you wouldn't have ballooned to 460 pounds before you started to get the inclination that something might be wrong. I know the number one thing that I've learned about myself through this process is that I am the worst judge of myself that exists out there. As bad as I thought the world was looking at me, and every time I walked through the mall or a grocery store or anything else, I thought people were judging me. I realize now that's kind of all bullshit. Nobody was judging me any harsher than me. And there are days now, 200 pounds lighter, where I still wake up and judge myself, where I'm a harsher judge of myself than anyone else in the world could ever be. And that ultimately is the sickness that fueled my obesity. It's this ridiculous standard that we have for ourselves. So what I do is I separate the choices I make every day, you know, to eat right, to be active, to be happy. All of that becomes separated from that voice within me that can't look past all of the things about me that I'm still not satisfied with. And there's a part of me that understands that I'm never going to be satisfied. That's just part of this whole process. It's part of how I became 460 pounds. But just because I'm never going to be happy and satisfied with that, it doesn't lessen the sincerity of my goal in any way. Because you know what? I can have saggy arms and an ugly stomach and tits and all of that stuff and be healthy. And I can do all of that and be alive. And I can do all of that and be a hell of a lot happier and be a better character in people's lives than I ever stood a chance of being at 460 pounds. So as you go through this change, give yourself permission to not trust yourself. Because at the heart of my problem, and possibly yours, was the fact that there were days where you wake up and you make the wrong choices, and it's because you're trusting that voice within you that's telling you you're not worth it. And you have to trust the logical part of you that understands you are worth it, that your family's worth it, that your life is worth it. And if you keep that in the back of your head all the time, you're going to make the right choices. Have a great meeting, guys. Thanks a million for inviting me in to be a part of it. If you have any questions, you can send them to me through the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/bigdealwlc. Bye-bye.